Hello, I'm Rick Morgin. I am a consultant with the franchise consulting company. I am closing on my 6th year in this business, and I absolutely found the passion to do consulting after a long corporate career. And I just love helping people achieve their dreams or come to that decision that they want to move forward with a business of their own. I am so proud that the franchise consulting company represents FocalPoint, which I believe is the premier coaching and executive leadership franchise within our inventory. And here's why. I mean, it's foundation. It's got the wisdom and the teachings of Brian Tracy. The target audience is small to medium-sized businesses, and those can be, a coach can work with those type of businesses from anywhere. The difference between FocalPoint and others is that FocalPoint, those coaches with FocalPoint can attack all segments of the business, all levels of the business, not just one, not just sales, training, etc. Plus, FocalPoint has a tremendous international footprint. Those are the reasons why I like FocalPoint and want to have this conversation with Alay Yajnik, who is FocalPoint's leader for all of Northern California. Well, he's also a coach and a trainer too. Just a little bit about him, and then he'll go into his introduction before we start our conversation. You know, he was the recipient of the 2018 Brian Tracy Award for Sales Excellence, 2017 Campbell Frazier Award for Coaching Excellence, and the 2015 Kaizen Award for Continuous Improvement. So Alay is going to be your preeminent coach and developer to help you understand why, if you're considering a business, to consider FocalPoint.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. And thanks for having me today and for jumping on this interview. We've known each other for many, many years, and I think the world of the franchise consulting company. And so I'm delighted to be here today.
Oh, you're welcome. Why don't we start just by describing, what is FocalPoint and who is it for? Who's the perfect candidate for this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So FocalPoint Coaching, and you did a terrific job of teeing that up. FocalPoint Coaching is dedicated to providing business coaching, training, and assessments to several different market segments. We work with business owners and their teams. We also work with high performance, top flight executives and their teams. We do training for large corporations all the way down to Main Street businesses. So there's a lot of variety in there with FocalPoint, which I really enjoy. That being said, FocalPoint is not for everybody. So the ideal FocalPoint candidate is going to be somebody who is already a successful executive. They have put 10 years, 20 years into corporate America, or maybe they've successfully owned and operated several different businesses. And what they're looking for is they're looking for something different. If they were employed in corporate America, maybe they're looking to own their own business and escape that rat race or that grueling commute, the business travels around the world, which is not nearly as glamorous as it sounds. Or if there's someone who's sold a number of businesses and built a number of businesses, they're looking to give back now to other business owners who are trying to do the same thing. Those are the kind of people that are a great fit for FocalPoint. So they already have a strong business background, and now they're looking for something different. They're looking to give back to their community. They're looking to own their own business, and they're really looking to make a difference in the lives of their clients and in their geographic area.
When I work with clients, what I try to get them to do is visualize themselves in the business. So as someone who views this video, help them understand what the day in the life is.
Yeah, day in the life of a coach. That is something that everyone would like to know. And it's different, Rick. When I was in corporate America, my day would typically start at 5 a.m. I get up at that time and I get dressed in the dark and stumble out the door and jump in my car and then drive 90 minutes to Silicon Valley, and we'll be back at home at 8 o'clock just in time for dinner. But the FocalPoint lifestyle is a little bit different. This is not your typical corporate grind it job where you're putting lots of hours. Typically, my day starts around, maybe 7 in the morning, and I'm usually done by 5 o'clock. That's Monday through Friday. Friday is typically a lighter day for me. I usually take about 6 to 7 weeks off a year. In fact, in 2019, I took the entire month of July off just to see if I could do it. I hadn't done that since college, so it was pretty amazing to do that. And that's the kind of flexibility you can have with the FocalPoint franchise. It is very much a lifestyle business. So to get back to like real details, I'll wake up, usually get going right around 7 o'clock, have breakfast with my wife. If there's a couple of urgent things, I've already got my plan done the night before, so I know what I need to work on. I knock out those urgent things. I eat that frog, for those of you that are Brian Tracy fans. And typically a lot of my networking and conversations with potential clients is done before lunch. After lunch is when I typically do my coaching. So that's typically when I'm going to be meeting with clients. We're going to be having conversations, and we're going to be really driving their businesses forward. And that all wraps up, usually about 4:30. I put together my plan for the next day, and I'm usually done by about 5 o'clock.
Oh, that's great. I have not been able to achieve that, to take a whole month of July off. So I'm jealous, and I'll set that as a goal.
Awesome.
You mentioned that FocalPoint's clients are from large corporations down to that everyday business. Let's dig into that a little bit more. Can you?
Yeah,
Give us a little more
absolutely.
detail?
So, me personally, I've had my FocalPoint franchise for almost 8 years now, and in that time, I've done work at just in our neighborhood. There's a national laboratory called Lawrence Livermore Lab. There's a sister lab called across the street called Sandia National Lab. I did some work with Sandia National Lab, it's about as big as it gets. It's a government type of gig. I've done work with multinationals based out of Canada in the energy industry. So I've done the big stuff. FocalPoint coaches have coached and trained at companies like eBay and PayPal and Cisco here locally. That being said, I get the most enjoyment working with businesses that are in my community that are Main Street businesses, because these owners, most of the time, they are going to want to, if things aren't going right, they'll want to take care of the employees. They will at times, give themselves a pay cut rather than letting somebody go. And that was not always my experience in corporate America. So I love working with these smaller businesses and these owners who can really benefit from my experience. They get more income, they get a better quality of life, their employees are happier, they're hiring people, they're delivering great value to their clients. It's amazing to be a part of that journey with them. And so that's what really gives me a charge. So that's where I've focused my business, is typically around businesses that are between 5 and 15 million in revenue. That being said, I do have some larger clients that are over 20 million in revenue.
Alay, when I work with clients, and sometimes it may not depend on the industry, but they'll ask me, what if I did it myself versus the franchise model? Can you go into the advantages of being a FocalPoint franchisee versus doing coaching on your own?
Yeah, it could be, because in the San Francisco Bay Area, there are a lot of coaches. There's all different kinds of coaches, and there's a lot of coaches, and most of them have capacity to bring on more work. The reason for that is coaching is not easy to sell, it's not easy to market, and then it's not easy to scalably deliver that. So where I think the real value that FocalPoint brings to the table is they know how to market coaching, they know how to sell coaching, and they know how to deliver it in a really scalable, high quality way that drives big results for clients. When I started my practice, I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I didn't have to go out and build all the coaching content, get all the assessments, create all the training. That was all done for me, and it's all world class. And it applies to all different kinds of businesses. So that was a huge thing that I didn't have to worry about. And then because I learned the best practices on how to sell and market and deliver this, now I could do it in a way where I am bringing in clients in the most efficient way possible. What that means for me is it means more clients faster than I could, on my own, with better results for my clients. So I wouldn't even think about trying to do coaching without being in a franchise. I don't want to be one of those other coaches that's out there really struggling to make ends meet.
Like, what if I were to refer a client to you? What are the main attributes of that client would you be looking for as kind of a trend towards their ability to be a successful franchisee?
Yeah, so for a successful franchisee, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for, number one, they have a strong track record of business success, whether that's in corporate America or as an entrepreneur and business owner. That's number one. Number two is they have to love this, and they don't need to necessarily love it out of the get-go. I mean, we'll get to talking, but this is a business where successful coaches need to have passion for what they do, have to have enthusiasm for what they do. I love what I do. And it comes across, I think, in a lot of my conversations. And like that, they have to love the idea of business coaching. They have to love the idea of helping others. And they have to love the idea of, putting their ego aside and doing what's in the client's best interest and focusing on the client. I love it. I get goosebumps. But, so that's the second thing that we look for. The third thing is, to build a successful franchise, they have to be willing to put in some time. And we're talking, not crazy hours, but if you're ramping up your practice and you're doing this full time, it's probably a solid 40 to 50 hours a week as you're getting going. And then once your practice is established, then you can back that off, and then you can start to take the long vacations and do those kinds of things. What we want to make sure people have is they have the right expectations. So if they're only going to be working on FocalPoint, 10, 15, 20 hours a week, that they understand the results they're going to be getting are not going to be the results of someone that's in this full time, right? It's going to be a slower ramp up.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing I look for is they need to have an ability to follow the process. And I know this sounds silly, Rick, because you work in franchises all day long, but I can't emphasize enough. The successful coaches in FocalPoint, they buy the process, they buy the system, and then they follow the process and they follow the system. That's how they get results. So those are the things that I'm looking for in someone who's a successful franchisee.
Oh, I absolutely agree that you'll be a franchise owner has a higher probability of being successful as long as they follow that playbook, that proven system.
I know it's silly because people buy this franchise potentially, right? Or another franchise, and then they go off and start doing something different. I remember doing my MBA degree, and one of the case studies we did was KFC, and I still remember this. So this entrepreneur bought a KFC franchise in Japan, and he launched KFC in Japan. And then within 6 months, he had all these offerings of Japanese food without any of the KFC stuff. It's like, why would you do that? You bought a franchise, use it.
That's a great story. Like, it's going to be on everybody's mind. How have your franchisees performed during the pandemic, during COVID-19?
Yes, that is when I talk to prospective franchisees, this comes up a lot. And I think it varies. I don't know about all the franchisees. I do know about other coaches in the area, and I know a couple of coaches focused on the restaurant industry pretty heavily. And these are non-FocalPoint coaches; these are independent guys, but they did not do well. And it's not that they're not good coaches; it's just they were in the wrong industry at the wrong time. My particular focus these days is on the law firm space. And so the law firm space has done very well in 2020, financially. I had my best year ever. Many FocalPoint coaches had breakout years in 2020 because, business owners are looking for guidance right now. It is a crazy time. Their employees are going through a lot emotionally. They're having to oftentimes move from on-site based workplaces to now remote workplaces within 2 weeks, and then try and keep that functioning for months on end. That wears people out. It brings up lots of questions. And what we're finding is business owners are really craving that guidance and that support and that inspiration that we can provide as FocalPoint coaches. So most of us have experienced significant business increases. I've not lost a client, since the pandemic started. I have everybody. And then, my team continues to add clients as we grow.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. And congratulations on 2020.
Thank you.
Candidates and clients always ask about territory. So describe that with FocalPoint. Is there a defined territory? We talked about how clients can work with people anywhere, but and also, do you allow multiple franchisees within a defined area?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, unlike a lot of businesses, a lot of franchises, you don't need to have a brick and mortar storefront for FocalPoint. So I run FocalPoint out of my house. This is my home office. Another reason I think why we've been successful during the pandemic is we don't have all that rent that we need to cover. We need to bring people through. We can run a successful business out of our home. I've been doing it for the last, since I started, so almost 8 years now. And we can coach from home. We don't have to go to client sites. So I use Zoom for coaching, and I've done so for about 5-6 years now. When we're talking about territory, first off, you're absolutely right. Focal point coaches can coach anywhere in the world. It's where our network takes us. So, I mentioned I did some work in Canada. We have coaches that have coached in the Middle East, Asia, Europe, everywhere, because that's where the network takes them. If you're doing traditional marketing, which, by the way, most people don't do anymore, but if you're doing, direct mail advertising, or you're sending out mail postcards, or things like that, your territory is going to be your state. So my territory is the state of California. It's non-exclusive, meaning there's other focal point coaches in California. From a competition standpoint, it creates zero competition for two reasons. One is, I'm not going, honestly, for me, this is all about trust. And so sending out direct mail brochures and flyers and all that isn't part of my marketing. My marketing is all about networking, connecting with my advocates. It's a strategy we teach called Champions, and then doing speaking. And that's what a lot of the top coaches do. So that's what Focal Point teaches us to do. If I'm doing that, it doesn't matter where I'm doing it. I can do it anywhere on the planet to bring in clients wherever it'll take me. As far as the geographic area, like you mentioned, I'm the area representative for Northern California. We absolutely will have coaches in the same area because it makes us stronger. These coaching situations aren't really all that competitive. So like I mentioned, I focus on law firms, small law firms. Other coaches focus on other areas. So in some cases, if I get a potential opportunity, not a great fit for me, I'm going to refer that out. And I refer out a lot of stuff to other focal point coaches. And so the more coaches we have in the area, it helps us build our brand. It helps generate cross referrals amongst coaches. And it really helps everyone. So it's very much a rising tide raises all boats.
Thank you. We've been, I think, pretty thorough in our conversation and you answering the questions, but I do have one more.
Yeah.
And one last one. And whenever we're working with clients, we deal with their fear of, it could be both success or failure of starting a business, doing something completely different. How do you deal with that thought of or fear of failure?
Yeah, boy. So if I rewind the clock back, I don't have to try too hard because, to your point, it was really a scary time for me. I'd spent about 17 years in medical devices. I'd moved up to an executive level. I'd had a significant amount of success, but I was pretty unhappy. I was unhappy with the corporate situation. I didn't like the startup environments that I found myself in. I realized that I wanted to do something different, but I wasn't sure what that was until I heard about business coaching and Focal Point and said, oh my God, I have got to do this. So I got really excited, but I was always worried about, man, oh man, what happens, if I quit my job and I start a franchise? I'm the only income earner for my family. I have 2 young kids. We have a mortgage. There's a lot at stake here. And I think the fact that I had a franchise was what tipped me over. It's what gave me the confidence to quit my job. I had another offer, which I turned down, and I started this business franchise. And it was because I knew that I had, proven processes in my hip pocket, proven techniques in my hip pocket. I had all the curriculum set up. All I had to do was follow the process, do it with enthusiasm, do it with passion and positivity, and put in the time, and the results would follow. And yeah, and there were times, after it was easy for me to get excited and quit those jobs. But then after I, got back from certification, that's when reality really started to kick in. And I had to say, oh my God, now I got to bring in clients. This is all for real. What am I going to do? And I had a coach, so in FocalPoint, we get coaches with us as well. So my coach was a rock, and she really helped me through getting that confidence and getting that client. And then FocalPoint has a very interesting royalty structure, which helped manage the cost. So unlike a lot of franchises, FocalPoint just has a flat fee royalty, which means I always know what my costs are going to be, independent of how much revenue I'm bringing in. The royalty is a flat fee. And then it doesn't start off very high. When you start your franchise, it starts off really low. And then it just, clicks up every 3 months until, month 13, you're up at the full amount. So it's really nice getting in that way, because my costs were virtually zero for the first 3 months, and I could really just focus on client acquisition. So all those things kind of put together really helped me take the plunge. Without probably any of those pieces, if anything was missing, I don't think I would have done it. I'd probably still be miserable in a job today.
Well, it really sounds like FocalPoint at every juncture of getting into and starting from day one, and now you have support. So that was probably, if you didn't have that support, it may be a different story.
It would have been. And it's something we don't talk about enough in FocalPoint, Rick. So thank you for bringing it up. We've got 200 coaches and growing in the US. And we have a Facebook page we bounce ideas off of. I know I can pick up the phone. I've got about 15 coaches on speed dial. They have me on their speed dial. We call each other up all the time. We discuss ideas. I've gotten so many breakthroughs just through talking to other coaches that support system is absolutely critical. So thanks for raising that.
Oh, you're welcome. And thanks for sharing your journey. That's very important to anybody who's going to view this. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but the franchise consulting company and FocalPoint has a partnership. Me as with the franchise consulting company, I'm kind of like your adjunct sales arm. So I will do my best every day to present to you highly qualified candidates. And then we work together to work them through the FocalPoint journey or discovery process.
Yeah, what I love about working with you and the franchise consulting company is you're really interested in the franchisee's best interest. So you're going to go through an extensive process. You're going to match them up with some franchises. Maybe FocalPoint's part of that mix, maybe not. It depends on the candidate. But at the whole way through, you guys are thinking of, okay, what's the best fit for this potential franchisee? Our same approach too. We know FocalPoint's not for everybody. It's a mutual vetting process. We don't award everyone who's interested. We don't award everyone a franchise. So we try and make sure that those people that join FocalPoint are the right fit for us and are set up for success. And I think we're very well aligned in that regard.
Well, in closing, and Alay, if you don't mind, so that people can connect with us more easily, if you let me express some of my contact information. And so Rick Morgin with the Franchise Consulting Company, connect with me on LinkedIn or call me at 925-324-6371.